Hi, I'm Caliban, and welcome to part 4 of the Bar Single Player Scenarios Guide series. We're going to kick off with scenario number 13, which is David versus Goliath. Now, if you remember, there was an earlier one called One Robot Army. It's pretty much the same mission, but from the core side using vehicles, so its strategy is going to be very similar. Now, you start off with a few units. You've got a little bit of a base which has defenses and some energy generation, which will come in handy for your stuff, like cloaking. You're given 2 Spectres, which are essentially the core version of Ghosts, so they're radar, invisible, cloakable spy bots. And you've also got a Tsar, a Negotiator, an Obscurer, an Omen, and a Tiger. So the objective is to kill this commander over here in this prison. And to do that, we're going to simply progress through the map this way. We're going to go through, kill everything in the way, up here, into the base, and we're going to kill the commander. Now, there's a few things to note. You do start off with a couple of grave robbers, which are useful for repairing. Also, there are a few units scattered around the map that you can resurrect to help. So down here, there's a Lazarus and 3 ticks. Not quite sure what the ticks' usage is. 2 of them can't even move after you've resurrected them. 1 of them can, but the Lazarus is helpful. Also, over here is another similar story. So there's 2 more Lazaruses you can resurrect. It's probably worth doing this because having 5 repairers is a lot better than having 2 repairers. Now, the main thing we're going to use to progress is the Negotiator because this has got massive range and huge damage, and it will just pick off fixed defenses before they even have a chance to engage. So we're going to use the Tsar as our main unit to just destroy all the enemy bots, and then we're going to use the Tiger as close in support to make sure our radar vehicles are protected and the grave robbers are safe and the Negotiators protected. You want to make sure you use the Ghost to get vision because the problem with radar is it's not 100% accurate. So make sure you've got actual vision with Ghosts, and then just let your Tsar and your Negotiator pick all these defenses apart from range without taking any damage. There's also 3 ferrets in the way. You might as well kill them just because. And over here there's a geothermal that you can resurrect. I have no idea why, if there's a use to that or not. I normally resurrect it just because it gives the enemy something to worry about. As in, they might come and attack it, and while they're attacking that, they're not attacking your units. There's also a few other things you probably want to resurrect. So there's a radar tower here, that's always useful, and there's 3 pitbull pop-up artilleries. These are worth resurrecting too, as it means you've got a bit of a safe area, and also some of the units that will be attacking you will instead go and attack these. So our units are just going to creep through and kill all this stuff. We'll speed it up a bit because there's not a huge amount to say. And by the time you've finished with these, you should get the first units come through. They won't be a problem whatsoever. Your Tsar and your Tiger will be able to kill them without any problem at all because at this point in the map, there's not much. Obviously, the enemy does start with a base and lots of production, but it isn't allowed to build any construction units. So it can only just produce bots and vehicles out of the T1 labs it start with. So you're never going to face anything tougher than a group of T1 units. Something the Tsar excels at killing. Like I say, it's worth resurrecting these just because it means that there'll be units killed by and going to attack them which aren't going to be attacking your main force, which makes things a bit easier. Obviously, you can lose your Tsar. Enough T1 units will slowly bring it down, especially lots of stouts. But if you're careful enough, repair it and use your Ghosts, or your Spectres rather, to get vision, you should be absolutely fine. I don't think I even bother resurrecting the Lazaruses on this version, not quite sure, but let's just fast forward and see what happens. So there's actually quite a lot of units coming through now, but as you'll see, the Tsar struggles with them not. And of course the pitbulls will help out if they're close enough. But generally these get absolutely smashed. So you want to have a good mix of speed and precision. You don't want to take too long because it gives the enemy an opportunity to build a lot more units, and the more fights you have to do, the more chance that something will go wrong and you'll struggle. Normally what happens is your grave robbers die and then you slowly lose your Tsar in a war of attrition. So just be a bit careful. Be fast but be precise. The enemy will generally turn back once they start to take a lot of damage, so make sure you keep smashing them with the Tsar. Now what I like to do is I like to use the Negotiator to kill these walls. Not all of them obviously, but just make a little gap. What that means is that some of the enemy that would come and attack you will instead run down here through the walls and attack the base, or attack this geo, or go and attack the turrets, or something silly like that. So it doesn't like win you the game or anything, but it just can make it a little bit easier to deal with, because it means the enemy aren't in front of you. Instead, they're running around the map doing something completely useless. So I'll take a little bit of extra time just to kill a few bits of those walls, because sometimes also the enemy comes down from here, so they might walk down this path, they might come through, and if you're up here, instead of hitting you in the back, sometimes what they do is go up here and try and attack one of these things. So I like to do this. It just makes it a tiny bit easier sometimes. You can pretty much just sit still and they'll run towards you in small groups and you kill them. Just make sure you use your grave robbers to heal each other up and then heal your units up. And then once you've made a gap, move one of your spectres close, get some vision on all these towers, and just take your time and let the Tsar and the negotiators slowly pick away at them. I do actually lose my tiger here, but it's not a huge problem because I can just resurrect it with the grave robber. Note the fact that these units now, this gaps here, are running around here and attacking this stuff and not hitting me in the back, which is nice. And I lose the tiger again, but not a problem, can just resurrect it up. And then you want to try and use your negotiator to kill this vehicle plant, because they can't make another one and it means you're not going to fight any vehicles. And the vehicles are the thing that worry you the most, because the stouts are normally a bit tougher and they can survive long enough to put some decent damage on your Tsar. So killing the vehicle factory is very useful. And like we said earlier, these units love going through this gap. I have no idea why. What they generally do is run through and then they'll run around in the corner, get smashed by the pit bulls. I don't know. Then I just come to the base. Now, the mission does say that there's actually mines down somewhere, but I didn't experience any. I mean, what I did is I fired my Tsar in attack ground on this area in front of the base and made a big hole of explosions. Actually, I think it's this. I think basically I made a path through here to kill any mines. But on this replay, I don't see any. So maybe there isn't any mines. Who knows? These pit bulls can be a bit nasty because they're cloaked. So what you want to do is just pick them off at long range with a negotiator. And make sure you keep the Tsar safe. Remember, if you can't see the pit bulls, it's obvious where they are, so just use attack ground with a negotiator to kill them. This is my Tsar just spamming the ground to try and clear any mines that might be there, but like we said, I can't see any mines. Now the bot lab's down, they can't produce any more units, so at this point you can just take as long as you like to kill everything, slowly creep forward, and get to where the commander is. There is 2 more pit bulls defending the commander, but you can actually kill him without getting near them by just using the negotiator to attack ground in the middle of that. Or you can just move the Tsar forward, keep repairing him and slowly tack down the pit bulls, and then kill the commander, and you win the game. So, even on brutal difficulty, pretty easy. Just takes a little bit of practice with the micro. Just remember, you need a nice blend of speed and precision. You don't want to go too fast because then you're likely to muck something up and accidentally get some important units killed, but also you don't want to go too slow because the longer the mission drags on, there's more chance to do something wrong. The next challenge, number 14, is called Infantry Simulator, which is a massive lie. Let me explain. So the whole deal with this one is you can only build pawns and you can also only build grunts. Let's have a look. So only build grunts and you can only build pawns. And you can't build any other factories, and you can't build, basically get to Tech 2 or build anything like that. The problem is, you can still build all of the Tech 1 defences. Now, I'm not sure if you remember, but Dragon's Claws, and from the core side, Dragon's Maws, absolutely destroy grunts and peons. If you've got 3 or 4 of them down, then no amount of grunts or peons rushing towards it are going to really do anything. especially if they're repaired by a couple of construction turrets. What this means is rather than a fun little infantry battle between pawns and grunts, what it normally turns into is a slow, boring slug where you capture one little point, build load of defences, move up and do the next one around the whole map. Now, one option is to try and win this in the first 5 or 6 minutes by building loads and loads and loads of pawns and doing a fast attack on the enemy. There's a problem with this. Both enemies start next to each other, so they're mutually supporting. On the harder difficulties, they'll have more resources than you, and that means they'll have more pawns and more grunts. It also means that if they decide to build any defences, which let's be honest, the AI does and normally in great abundance, you're going to really struggle to do anything. Because a couple of twin guards or a couple of light laser towers is going to be a real problem when you've only got a handful of peons or grunts. So on this replay, we're just going to go through and we'll show you what happens. So I'm going to take a quick push of pawns in the first couple of minutes of the game down the side. And I'm going to run into the enemy and get instantly destroyed because their commander's there, so I get unlucky. But also, by this point, they've already got a couple of light laser towers up, or there's 3 up here, 4 light laser towers up. This base has already got a couple of light laser towers up. There's a couple here, there's a couple here. The AI is already expanding. They've already got, what's that? They've already got 16 grunts on the field. They've already got 8 or so peons on the field. And you're not going to be able to match this. So even if you just try and focus your economy on just producing as many early peons as you can, you're not going to be able to keep up with the AI. Well, you might do. If you get really lucky and their commanders are doing just the wrong place and they have no energy for D-gun, you might get really lucky and win this way, but it's going to be really difficult on the harder difficulty levels. So what this game generally consists of is slowly capturing one little area at a time, reinforcing it with some turrets and some dragon's maws and some dragon's breaths, and then slowly, very slowly building gauntlets to try and grind your way across the map, and it takes forever and it's not a lot of fun. Like I said, maybe you can win it by just rushing a load of infantry at the start and getting lucky. I know sometimes you can be a bit cheeky. For instance, if there's an enemy commander here and you run a peon over here, sometimes that commander will D-gun his own bot lab, and then that might get you ahead enough. But because on the harder difficulties they've got a lot more resources than you, and there's 2 of them, it's going to be really, really hard to win this with a peon rush in the first 5 minutes of game. And if it goes on longer than 5 minutes, then I don't think it's going to work at all. Then your only option is to slowly reinforce each position with some dragon's maws and dragon's claws, and then push across the map, using lots and lots of gauntlets on each position and slowly grind them down over the course of an hour or so. If you find the idea of that pretty boring, you can do something stupid. And on this replay on Brutal, I thought, hey, let's try something stupid. So I spawn my commander, and rather than building anything, I run across the map. And then what I do is, I start building dragon's teeth. Lots and lots of dragon's teeth all the way across the map. And before the enemy's first attack gets to me, I'm almost done. They start running some bots in, which is fine. And I D-gun them down, and I finish my wall. And then once my wall's done, I pull back, and all good. Now we're in a silly position. The silly position is, the AI does not know how to deal with dragon's teeth. You see, if you play this on a normal game, what will happen is, it will at some point build a Tech 2 unit. That Tech 2 unit won't care about dragon's teeth, will drive straight through it, and open a gap, and everything will run through. Or if you build the T2 fortifications, the same thing will happen a bit further down the line with a juggernaut or a big tank or something like that. But on this mission, the enemy doesn't know what to do about these because it can't get past them and it doesn't really know why, and it doesn't attack them. So as long as you don't have anything on the edge for it to try and shoot at and you stay out of line of sight, it's just going to run around like crazy. So you've got a few units over this side, but we don't care about them. We're just going to slowly kill them off by building a few laser towers and waiting for things to take care of themselves. And then, well, we just do whatever we want. So what I do is run my command around and I get all the metal. Once I've got all the metal, I decide to build another line as my new primary defensive wall. Remember, the AI can't do anything because there's nothing it can build. It can only build basic units. So it's just going to expand its economy for no reason and build loads of rubbish units it can't use. In the meantime, I'm going to get my economy racing, and then I'm going to build lots and lots of bot labs. And then I've built a big nice line of radar jammers all the way down the map so that the enemy can't do anything. Although I think the commander does have vision to just about here. Oh, this radar tower does. But I use my commander to finish the wall and then retreat back a bit. Then I build lots of nice backup laser towers because I can, make sure they're out of range of their radar vision, and at the same time just build up an economy. Now I need some more metal, so I'll get some converters up, and I turn all my gauntlets on at the same time so they can just start shooting things. I've made a hole in the battle so I can bring all my peons through. But no, they still get absolutely destroyed because peons are rubbish. Now it turns out this isn't really enough, because these few defences will actually stop all of this. As long as they're repaired, they're not going to make much inroads. I try different directions, I try massing up attacks, but hey, generally nothing works. But I let this run for a while because this is a really stupid scenario and I decide to play stupid. So we decide to bring some construction bots down and just dump some gauntlets right outside of their base. And the gauntlets eventually start to do the work. And that should bring an end to an utterly stupid way to do an utterly stupid scenario. Let's have a look at the little graphs at the end here. Oh, there we go. We only lost 3,000 pawns. Not too bad. The next scenario is World War XXV, which is the 15th scenario. Bit of an odd one. It consists of 4 teams. Team 1 is you. Team 2 is this guy here, and then this guy over here that makes a team. And then you've got another team which is these 3 people here. And then you've got a third team which is these 2 people here. The problem with this scenario is it's another one of those ones that's really, really, really random, and sometimes you're just not going to be able to win it. This is because there's so many moving parts. The more AIs you put on a map, especially in a situation where they can attack each other, the more variables you add. And how much they attack each other, how much they devote to you, how much they devote to their other enemies, what methods of attack they go for, if they manage to kill each other or have a stalemate, or if they kill each other early. All these things really make a difference, and as such, sometimes you just won't be able to win this. But if you are going to win it, there's a few things you should be doing which will hopefully give you a better chance. So you start over here. Now you've got access to this island. You've also got easy access to this island here and this nice bit of open water. So really what we're going to do is we're going to try and build up here, and we've probably got about 10 minutes before we're interfered with. So we want to use this time to develop our economy as strongly as possible. Now we're going to open up with 3 mechs, then we're going to get some power, probably some wind turbines up, I'd say. No, we're going to suck up the solar panels, get our bot lab up, and then we're going to get out some Lazarus. We just want 3 of them. The idea is these Lazarus are going to eat up all the trees on our starting island. This means that we won't have to build as much energy generation at the very start. It means we can go into a geo very early. Our commander's then going to come up, build a radar, a little laser tower here, these mechs and a nettle. And that's going to protect us against any early air attacks. We're going to get another nettle down here for exactly the same reason. We're going to work on this geo. Then our commander's going to run over to this island, or I say run, slow walk over to this island and get all these metal spots up. Now remember, we're not going to be interfered with for about 10 minutes, so what we really want to do is tech up as hard as possible, as quick as possible. So we're going to go straight into a T2 lab, and then we're going to get an advanced construction bot out, and we're going to start upgrading all of these. The commander's going to get a nettle up in case there's any early air stuff. We're also probably going to get an air lab over here because we do need access to a few air units. And we want to bring an advanced constructor over here so we can get all this upgraded. The trick to surviving the early part of this game is to have enough defences to stop the harassment. So if you build absolutely no defences, then you'll find 1 or 2 little amphibious or flying units will come and completely wreck your day. So you need to focus like 90% on teching up, but you need to save a little bit of resources for defence. So I've got a construction playing out over here. That means I can start getting the geo up with the help of the commander. I've got quite a lot of metal coming in because I've got all these mechs up. And then I've got my advanced one here, and I'm going to get these mechs up too. Well, what we'll do while this is going on, let's check in on the enemies and see what they're up to. We are going to use this stalk to just airlift this bot over here so we can get these mechs up a bit quicker. Now, the enemies, because we're on Brutal, get 100% extra resources, This means that they're going to tech up incredibly fast. We find they've got fusions out already. Fusions are coming up over here. They've already got Amexes up. They've already got Tech 2 units, and they should be hopefully very busy smashing themselves. Ideally, what you want is them not to kill each other too quickly. You want them to all to remain busy with each other and not worrying about you. Although we will start to have a problem because the player here and the player here are going to expand into the sea. We don't want them really to get going too hard in the sea because that's going to be hard for us. So we're going to want to deal with these things soon. And now we see we're about 10 minutes in and the first amphibious attack starts coming. Well, I say attack, it's just a construction vehicle and a light pincer tank. But if you're not prepared for this, this is going to be a big problem. However, we do actually have a little bit of defense, we just can't see it yet. So this is the light amphibious tank. It's going to start shooting away at our Tech 2 lab. And I'm going to try and quickly get our Hound to deal with it. So out comes the Hound, and that should be able to easily kill this light amphibious tank. And the amphibious vehicles will run away and come back and try later. Over here what we did is we decided to actually build some coastal torpedo launchers, which is going to stop any amphibious units from coming onto the land. See, against players these aren't that great unless you've got a huge amount of them. But against the AI in the early stages of the game where they're just kind of probing and sending a few constructors on the odd tank, they do a good job. They've got anything under about 4 or 5 units. These will turn them away, and that's what we want. But we're also going to build a chainsaw, we're going to get some defences up, and we're going to fortify this island a little bit. It won't stop a really determined attack, but it will stop probing attacks, and that's all we need at the moment. At the same time, what I've got over here is I'm starting to get some construction turrets up, I'm getting a shipyard up, and I'm going to get some destroyers out. It's because I really want to deal with this sea stuff quickly before it gets us too heavily established, and destroyers are the best thing I can build early on that aren't too expensive to do this. At the same time, I'm going to get a couple of pit bulls up because I don't want to get jumped by amphibious units, and if they send something like one marauder, the pit bulls will be able to deal with it. We can see we've got amphibious units coming onto our island over here, but this light laser tower should send them back. The pit bulls will also stop any ships getting too close to the shore. Well, any rubbish ships anyway. Now it looks like the green player here is massively suffering and getting really pushed in by the yellow player. This is kind of good for us because it means that this is all they have. They're not going to have the energy to really do anything with any of this, so they'll die quickly. But on the bad side, it does mean that the yellow player is going to be really strong and going to have to start pushing out some big stuff from this advanced shipyard, which will be very bad for us. So we're about 15-16 minutes in, and we're going to have to start doing something because if we wait any longer, we're not going to be able to. So I'm getting an APHIS up now so I can really start to ramp my economy up heavily. I didn't get one out earlier because I needed destroyers to protect myself from all these submarines and stuff. And obviously 11 destroyers is like 10,000 metals worth of stuff, so it's quite hard to build an APHIS if you've spent all your money on destroyers. I'm bringing my commander back to the main island because he's safer, and I'll need him in case they build any Titans or Juggernauts and send them onto my island. I'll need his D gun for that. So my destroyers are keeping the subs and the other things at bay, allowing me to keep safe on this side, which means my APHIS is safe. And now that's up, I'm going to get a nuke launcher because on this kind of map, you're going to need nukes to deal with this. There's just so much stuff and you're going to need nukes. Also, don't forget to build an anti-nuke. You will really need one. Enemies are building nukes and those nukes will finish and they will cause you problems. Unfortunately, the enemy has got a flagship up. Now, you might think this is game over, but instead what I decide to do rather than panic is just crank out lots and lots of submarines because they're not going to support it very well and I will be able to slowly pick it off with submarines. I use my first nuke to kill all this production over here. That means that these flagships are completely unsupported and I can slowly pick them down with submarines. I've also built radar jamming on the edge here to stop the flagships from shooting everything, and I have got a keeper up just in case. It takes a long time for submarines to kill these flagships, but we are building quite a few and they will do the job in the end. I'm also building some torpedo bombers from my air lab that I've got down because we really need to take care of these flagships. And I'm getting some nuke bombers out because they're incredibly powerful and I'm going to need them. Bringing out more and more and more submarines and can slowly grind down these flagships. They can't build any more at the moment, so we just need to get rid of these ones and then we can clear everything else up. With the help of the torpedo bombers, I managed to clear up this bit of sea and I keep this free. And this is what's going to keep me safe. I'm nuking this so I can clear a lot of the units out, and I just want to keep all this whole sea bit here, keep safe. Now the problem is the enemy's built a nuclear missile launcher. The second problem is I forgot to build an anti-nuke. This is going to prove to be quite stressful for me very, very soon. But I'm going to use my nuke and just keep nuking stuff that I can find to try and whittle the enemy down. Yellow is causing me the most problem at the moment, so I really need to kill Yellow's forces. I killed most of his production and everything going on in the centre there. He's still got some APHIS up, but we'll have to deal with them separately. But we should have another nuke ready, and we've got another nuke ready already. And that something goes down there. Was that the other nuke? Unfortunately, that's when the enemy nuke lands on my base. Now, normally this would be catastrophic, but a couple of things saved me on this one. So thing number one is it missed my APHIS. That basically kept me alive. It also didn't kill the Prude because the Prude has a ridiculous amount of health. It also didn't kill my nuke launcher, so I can keep harassing the enemy with that. And it also didn't hurt any of my units. So I am the proud owner of 55 submarines, which is going to allow me to keep doing the job I needed of cleaning the sea. Plus, I've still got another Prude over here. I've got lots of energy generation and metal production. So now what I have to do is a mad rush to try and get back on my feet before I get killed. Thankfully, now I've almost killed the yellow player, I don't have to worry about that. And the rest of the fighting is quite a long way off and not causing me too much of a bother. It did frustrate me a bit. It was my own stupid fault for not building an anti-nuke, but if we look at Vanguard here, I'm not the only enemy. He's got two other enemies still in the game. He could have nuked one of them. It frustrated me that Vanguard decided to nuke all the way over here, but hey, what can you do? We have to be thankful that we survived it. So I'm just going to keep firing my nukes off at useful things. Keep using my submarines to secure my sea lane. The idea is I want to secure this part of the map here. If I can get great submarine coverage on this side of the map, I can attack any amphibious units that are going to come and get me. If I can see something like a Juggernaut coming, I can move my commander into good position to degun it before it, just as it gets out of the water. And then after that, I can just keep nuking everything down and win the game that way. Remember, you've only got to kill the commanders, you haven't got to kill all the units. So I'll be doing that using aircraft and nukes. And there's also two enemy teams, so hopefully one of them will kill the other one, which will mean I've only got 2 or 3 commanders to kill. Building quite a lot of construction bots, building lots of butlers, building an advanced construction vehicle. So I'm now going to try and get back on my feet really quickly with lots of construction turrets, get my metal back up, get a couple of keepers up, get some defences up, and that'll put me in a good position. I'm also going to get a Tech 2 shipyard out so I can get some more powerful submarines. And I'm pretty much back on my feet at this point, and I'm just going to keep nuking the enemy down here. Every time he starts to get re-established, put a nuke down. That should keep him from causing me any bother. And I've got loads of great vision, loads of great protection with all these submarines. I'm just going down here and killing stuff using all these gunships. Taking their commander out, which is going to stop them from rebuilding easily. And that means there's one less commander for me to kill. So I decided, and it did take a very long time, but I decided to use my Grim Reapers to resurrect these flagships. Takes forever, but well worth it. Now I can really start putting some hurt out. So I've established myself again, I've protected myself, I've built an anti-nuke this time, and I'm just going to keep building my economy, building more nuke launchers, building loads of planes, and making my sea area as tough as possible. If you notice, it looks like one of the AI has pretty much come out on top. He's got lots of juggernauts, he's got a behemoth out here, and he kills the last enemy commander, which means that it's just me versus him. He hasn't got any anti-nukes though, so I'm just going to nuke his base with my 3 nuke launchers over and over again until after a while I kill his commander. And that wraps it up. So the final scenario we're going to look at in this video is number 16, New Beginning. This is actually an advanced version of the very first scenario called a Fortress Assault. Our mission is to kill all the production facilities and all the constructors, and that will let us win the game. Now the difference between this and the very first scenario is they can build units, they will build units, and they will build a lot of units. Also, they've got a massive amount of fixed defences around the map in really hard to get out positions. Thankfully, you start with 3 advanced mexes and a cloakable fusion reactor and a radar jammer. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up with a vehicle plant and we're going to get a construction vehicle straight away, and then we're going to get our mechs. You will get attacked very, very quickly and you need to defend yourself. They're going to attack you with aircraft, they're going to attack you with vehicles. So the plan is we want to get some chainsaws up quickly to shoot down any aircraft before they get close enough to bomb us. And then we want to use our commander and some Tech 1 defences to fight off the initial push. So first thing I do, I get work on this Overwatch, and then I'm going to get work on the first chainsaw. I'll use my commander to help build them. I should have plenty of metal. This shouldn't be a huge issue. I'm going to use my commander to degun stuff down when it gets close, as my defences aren't quite up yet, and then use his build power to go and finish these things off. Whenever I see something quite tough, like these tanks, I will be using my commander to go and degun it. You want to get these chainsaws up really early because the bombers do start coming and they'll do so much damage to you because they're going to be tier 2 bombers. They're going to go straight for your defences and they'll kill a radar tower, but you want to shoot them down. You can't have them kill your metal, otherwise you're just going to lose. Now these Overwatches aren't amazing, but they will help a little bit. But whenever you see some of these halberds, you're going to have to go in and degun them because they do a lot of damage. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get a really early pulsar up. Now the reason we're going to do this, even though it's really expensive, is we need that range. We really need the range to deal with all these missile things. Unfortunately, we lost our chainsaw here, but my commander's going to go in and hopefully clear this up just as the pulsar finishes, and then the pulsar should tidy up all of these units. Now this makes us a little bit safe, but we are going to need another chainsaw, and unfortunately we don't have a bot lab or Lazarus's, so we can't just res it. So we're going to reclaim it, get a new chainsaw up as quickly as we can. We've got bombers coming back over already. They're going to blow up our mechs, blow up our radar jammer, so we'll start again. Because we really need 2 chainsaws up to protect against the bombers. We've got to shoot them down before they get close enough to drop. We're going to build another Overwatch over here. This gives us a decent amount of coverage. When we get attacked by small stuff, we've got 3 Overwatches. When we get attacked by big stuff or at long range, we've got the pulsar. And then we're also going to get a nice flat gun in the middle just to help with the anti-air. And we're going to make sure that we're covered by radar jamming and covered with a radar tower so we can see stuff coming. Now, once you've got to this stage, you should be a bit on the safe side. Obviously, you're not going to defeat everything, but you should be definitely safe to kind of take your foot off the brakes a tiny bit and hopefully work on your eco now. So I'm going to get some construction turrets up and then start on some more energy and metal production. I'm not going to bother pushing out to these other metal spots yet because I just can't afford to defend them. It's too much of a front line. I need to really be in the range of the pulsar. But now I've got multiple chainsaws up, the bombers aren't going to be so much of a problem. I've built a radar vehicle because it's got really great line of sight. That allows the pulsar to be more accurate at longer range. And it's going to help me deal with those tough tanks. The benefit of the pulsar is it does fully kill them, so they won't be able to get resurrected. Then I'm going to get a bot lab out, probably because I need some Lazarus. And also get another chainsaw up. I like to have 4 chainsaws and a flat gun. That's going to make me pretty safe. And then when these Overwatches die, I probably won't replace them directly. Oh, I might resurrect them up, but I normally build pitfalls instead because they're just a lot better. If you can see that 2 chainsaws do enough damage at enough range that the bomber doesn't get through. Once this is done, I'm going to get an APHIS up. I can't rely on these metal spots because they're too hard to defend, so I'm going to get some energy converters up too and use this to boost my economy rather than try and capture some more metal. I'm still going to rely on my commander to help with the defence because when they send a big mash of units, I really need that D-gun. So now I've got an APHIS up, I've got plenty of extra energy, so I'm going to get a second pulsar up, and that should make me a lot safer. Also brought out a Starlight just for a bit of extra damage. Not quite sure why I did that, it just seemed like a good idea. And now I'm going to get 3 pinpointers up because these make these pulsars deadly accurate even at max radar range. And that means I can take these vehicles out nice and early before they cause me a problem. And if anything dies, I'm going to use the Lazarus to resurrect it up or to reclaim it to get the resources. You can only build 2 APHISes on this map, so I'm just going to get 2 and that's going to do me. I'm not going to bother with any more, I'm not going to build loads of fusions. Just going to get 2 APHISes up. I've also resurrected some of these tanks because it's just an extra bit of defence that I didn't have to build, and these are particularly good at dealing with these little units. Now I've got 2 APHISes up, I can get 3 more advanced energy converters up. Make sure you leave a gap between these and anything else. If you leave a gap of 2 energy converters between them and anything else, then if they get killed, they won't actually do any self-destruct damage to anything. So it needs to be 2 of them. So this is fine, this is fine. If these die, your APHIS won't get hurt, your construction turrets won't get hurt. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to build some keepers around my base because they will build some long-range plasma cannons sometimes. So I want to get 3 keepers up to make sure the occasional bit of long-range plasma cannon fire isn't going to cause me a problem. I've also built some walls up and some more overwatches. Don't know why, just think it looks pretty cool. Don't really know if I need them, but it makes me just feel better anyway. Now we're going to start the fight back. So to do this, what we need is lots of ambassadors. The reason we want ambassadors is because they're very, very good against static defense. And they've got a huge range and high damage, and the enemy has a lot of static defense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build 5 ambassadors, going to get some balls to protect them, get some shredders to protect them, get a radar vehicle and a radar jammer vehicle, then I'm going to use these to start killing the enemy proper. I've also got an advanced air lab up because oracles are really, really good for vision and radar, and these things on these very high mountains are often quite hard to see, so I want the oracles so that these guys have got something to target. Now I'm going to move these forward using the balls to cover them and just start picking away at all these defences. You'll note that these things can only reach out to here, whereas these things have got more range and can just kill them completely safe. Unfortunately they do have fighters, so your oracles will get shot down after a bit, but this isn't too much of a problem. Just keep building a few more and your flat guns should take care of any fighters that come over and start thinning their number of fighters. Occasionally they'll get a bomber through and you'll lose some ambassadors. This isn't a huge problem. At this point you should have a decent economy and you can build a load more. Make sure you build lots of repair bots because there's lots of stuff here you're going to want to resurrect, lots of stuff you're going to want to reclaim and repair. And then what I like to do is build some turtle heavy tanks and just get them to protect this area. I quite like the turtle because it can shoot air and land. Not very well at air, but it's enough to keep a few things at bay. So I'm going to build some seaplane gunships using this tiny bit of ocean I've got here to get a seaplane factory out. Then I can use these torpedo gunships to kill all their energy storage underwater and get rid of that, while my turtles keep all this safe. Now there's something I don't understand about this map. I'll tell you for why. The enemy just doesn't seem to be building a lot of stuff all the time. See, there's got 2 bot labs here it's not using. There's a vehicle plant it's not using. It's using the hovercraft platform and using the Tech 2 advanced aircraft plant, but everything else it just seems to be ignoring and not building from. Now obviously it has used them before because we fought a Tsar before, which comes out of this factory. But don't know why this is. It is building some long-range plasma cannons, but at this point we're at the front of the base and we're just dumping down ambassadors onto everything. We're building some fighters, we're building some radar planes so we can see what's going on, and we're just going to slowly go through the base and blow everything up. And at the same time, off the back of this, we've pushed out, we've captured this metal, we've moved up some tanks to protect ourselves, got some snipers and other stuff, and now we're just going to slowly go through and kill the whole base. We use some nuke bombers to speed things up, blow up all their APHIS. Now it's just a matter of trying to find all the constructors. I think the grave robbers might count, so we're going to have to find them at some point and kill them. And there we go, last grave robber goes down and we win the game. Just a quick addendum to the last scenario. I've been trying to figure out why some of those buildings weren't constructing anything, and I've come up with a bit of a theory. It looks like there's some units you are allowed to build, but there's a limit of them. As an example, you can only build 3 construction vehicles, and you can only build 4 construction hovercraft. Now, my theory is that the AI on this map can't quite understand those limits. If you disable something, it won't try to build it. But if there's a limit on them, I think it might be attempting to produce those units, but not being able to, and then getting confused and not building anything at all. So it might be that if you've got an advanced vehicle plant, and you're only allowed to build, say, 3 advanced construction vehicles, that if the AI's already got 3 and it thinks in its head, hey, I want to have 10, it'll just keep trying to build those and it won't build any other units. I'm not sure, but anyway, just a theory, might explain why some of these buildings aren't really doing anything. Hi there, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then please click the like button, and if you've got any questions or thoughts, then leave them in a comment below or on the Discord. And as usual, if you want to see more of this sort of thing, then subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you back soon.